let's see. I'm gonna see if anybody comes in. Woo, y'all fast. Greetings, 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 y'all. This is an impromptu requested scope. I'm gonna see how long my battery holds out. How's everybody doing? Greetings. How's everybody? Mariah, if you in here, let me know, because I don't know your Periscope name. Hey, y'all. Hey. I don't have my glasses on, so in a minute when I sit back, I may or may not be able to see. Greetings. How y'all? I like these pictures. I wish I could see them better, though. Whatever, Omi. Okay, that's fine. Greetings, 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 everybody. So by the title, thank you for the hearts. By the title, y'all can tell what I'm going to talk about, of course. This is a requested scope. I think I have a video about this on YouTube. I'm so excited too. I think I did a video on this on my YouTube channel, but I don't think I've done it on my scope. So somebody want to know about my journey from Christianity to now. I just call it now because I'm not really always sure where I am. So thank you for the hearts. Y'all can swipe and share if you like. So like many of y'all, I was born and raised Christian. I was born and raised from the church. My beginnings are in the church, and I mean Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday evening, that whole thing. Thank y'all for the hearts. So how did I end up here? So I was born and raised in a church. I was never very good at it. I tried. I really did. I tried to be good at it. But I never was really good at not asking questions. And I had some experiences when I was younger that as I got to be a teenager, they didn't really, I guess, mesh very well with church. So I would have experiences like dreams, that will come true. So people call it like premonitions or deja vu or whatever. I would have dreams where it would be a lot of symbology. Snakes have always been in my dreams. I've always dreamt a lot or seen ants, so those are my two totems. But of course, snakes were always evil, and the interesting thing is I could tell when I look back at my journey where I was in my journey by how I viewed snakes. So that's another story. But I was active in Sunday school. I was on the choir. I did all of that stuff. And I tried. I really did. I would shout with everybody else, because it still hits you. That emotional, thing would hit me. I spoke in tongues and all that stuff, and it was what I still feel was authentic. I still don't quite understand that as it relates to where I am now, but that spiritual utterance, yes, I did that. So fast forward my teen years, things got really interesting for me. I could hear things, I could see spirits, but that was the devil calling me, or that, thank you for sharing, that was the devil calling me. It was always something satanic. Everything in church that cannot be easily explained is satanic. And so, it's said to be satanic. So I grew. I went to the clubs. I had fun. I did all this. I had a lot of boyfriends. Right. I had a lot of boyfriends. I had sex. I got pregnant. Let me see. I had an abortion. I had 3 miscarriages. And any of this stuff that y'all want me to do a separate video on, message me, let me know. So I went through all that. Then I took cosmetology. And, excuse me, I took cosmetology, and then I decided, I want to leave. So I went to the military. Not sure what I was thinking with that, but it's all a part of the story. So, when I went to the military, it was a way for me to get away from home. It was a way for me to finally be able to make my own decisions without them being made for me. I was still, I did go to church in the military though, but it was just to get out of the barracks when I was in basic training. So when oh, that's okay. I was in the Air Force. And I didn't do very well in the Air Force either because, again, if you think about it, between the military and the Air Force, I'm still dealing with people telling me what to do. And I don't follow very well blindly. Like, I don't just say, oh, okay, that's what you want me to do? All right. And that's not me. So, but while I was in the military, I got married. And this is leaving out quite, hoo-ah. So this is leaving out quite a few details because I'm 38 years old, so there's a lot of years behind this. And so when I was in the military, Mariah's messaging me. That's who asked me for it. So when I was in the military, I got married. I got pregnant. I had two miscarriages in the, I had two miscarriages while I was in the military. Yeah, two miscarriages in the military, and then I had my daughter. Around the time that I was pregnant with my daughter, I went to go get my hair braided, and I went to this shop. I was going to call the name out, but I won't because it depends on what I say about the shop later. But anyway, so I went to the shop, and they were very interesting. This lady used to be able to read your head. So she could actually, like, I still don't know now if she was reading the energy, but she would be feeling on your head like this, and she could literally read your head. She could divine by being on your head. So this very much like my ministerial experience was like a booster shot, because when I was a minister, I basically got, let me go back. I'm in the shop. The lady is reading my head. That's my first experience with divination that I was aware of. Then they started talking to me about African traditions and African traditional religions and things like that. I'm not really sure what I thought of Africa before that, but I don't think I really thought of Africa before that. I don't know. I don't know. So anyway, that's why I got introduced to a whole hodgepodge of African traditions and beliefs and things like that. So it turns out, long story short, the people were crazy, but I got a lot of exposure to, thank you for inviting followers. I got a lot of exposure to Ifa and Kemetic traditions and Juju. So along the path, I met this Babalawo, whose name I will not call because I made a less than stellar impression. I found out some years ago on him. So I met him, and he was more of a Juju man than he was an Ifa priest. And I had some very interesting experiences on a trip to Miami when we went to go visit him once. And that's when I saw what African spirituality looked like, what Juju looked like. And it was amazing. Like, for instance, one time he told me, you know, I know you're a dreamer. And he walked past me. I'm sitting up on the couch like this. And he walked past and said, I need you to dream for me. And the next thing I know, I was waking up. I'd had all these vivid dreams, all this stuff that I woke up and told him all about. Because at that time, I didn't know to guard my dreams. And you don't tell everybody your dreams. And not just your, oh, when I grow up, I want to be thus and such. Not that kind of guarding your dreams. I do not tell people just kind of flippantly what I dream about. I learned the hard way that people can take those dreams and when they interpret them for you, they can very easily interpret them for their own use. So, and I had some other very interesting things happen. So that was when all of us from this house, I was living communally. I wasn't in a polygamous relationship, but we were living communally, just a bunch of us living together. And so we all left or whatever. So at some point, the Babalawo, I'm trying to leave particular details out for good character purposes, but the Babalawo, he got injured. And so I was on my way back to Charlotte because I left the people. I realized, I'm like, they're nuts. I'm leaving because I didn't realize till later that I was basically in a cult. So I was going back to Charlotte, but he asked me to come down and stay with him for like 2 weeks, right? Stay with him for like 2 weeks to help him while he was on the mend because his main wife had to go see her children and grandchildren that she hadn't seen in years. And so I came and I cooked and I cleaned and I assisted with Ebal, which is sacrifices, and I did everything she would do. So if he had, if he had a gathering, or something like that, I would cook for it and everything. Hey, I would cook for it and everything, and I sat in for a lot of ritual. And while I'm saying this was a rough experience at the time, I'll be honest with you, I learned so much. You can learn from even bad experiences. So I stayed there for like 2 weeks. And during that 2 weeks, I had visions upon visions upon visions. I think it was just maybe the energy in his house. I'm not sure. But I would be walking and just see like a cloud come over. It would be like a movie screen. So I did my 2 weeks. And, of course, I experienced the whole him wanting me to be one of his wives and stuff. But he's like my granddaddy's age at the time. So I'm just like, no, thank you. And I go back home. I come back here. I'm staying with my parents, and I had to move back in with my parents. So it's me and my daughter move back in with my parents. And I know when I come home, I'm having to go back to church. So when I come back home, I'm just kind of like, because I'm not dedicated to anything at this point. But I know I got to go to church. So when I get back home, they have a new minister who is very into the prophetic, the move of the spirit kind of thing. Thank y'all for the hearts. It lets me know y'all listening. Yeah, he did. So this pastor, she was a woman, so it was easy for me to relate to. She didn't call me crazy when I would see things. My first real interaction was my mama invited her to dinner. I was so pissed. I was so mad that I purposely undercooked the chicken and hoped that she got sick because I was evil. So she didn't get sick though. So then she invited me to this intercessory prayer meeting that they were having. There goes my Viber. She asked me to come to this intercessory prayer meeting that they were having. So this lady is sitting up there, and I can't remember what her issue was supposed to be. You're welcome. I can't remember what her issue was supposed to be, but I remember all the people were offering like counseling, and they were saying, it was something to do with. I'm gonna tell you. It had something to do with loneliness is what I saw, but that's not what they were talking about. So I'm sitting there, and y'all, the lady's sitting there, and I can see this man that I had seen a few times in my own time that I was living in Georgia with the people and in the military. And this man, he was leaning on her chair, and I finally knew who he was, and it was the spirit of loneliness, or a spirit that represented loneliness. And I was telling them, I just couldn't take it anymore. It's driving me nuts, with them having these deep answers when it was just loneliness. And I was telling them how loneliness will just kind of, without being nitpicky, would just invite other spirits. Like loneliness doesn't, like when we're lonely, we just look for company if we're not careful. We'll take on any kind of mate. We'll take on any kind of lover. We'll take on any kind of friend because we're desperate. We just want to fill that void. And that's what that lady was doing. So the pastor says, finally, somebody got it. And she never addressed the fact that I said, I see him. Because I'm saying, don't y'all see him? Y'all don't see him leaning right there on her chair? So that was the first thing that opened me up to her. And I guess Christianity. Because I'm like, okay, so she's different than everybody else. So at this point, I'm an adult. I'm probably 23 maybe. Well, I wasn't really grown, but I thought I was. So I was like 23. So it opened me up. So she would start calling me to come up there and talk to her or whatever. And we would have all these conversations. And little by little by little, I got pulled in. And so one day at a prophetic conference, she puts the mic in my face. And by now, and I'm going to tell y'all, I went from one cult to another. And so she puts the mic in my face. And I know what I'm supposed to say, that I am answering my call to preach. That's how I became a minister. And what I realized later was that she knew my gifts better than I did. She knew who I was better than I did. Hello! She knew everything about me better than I did. Why? Because I exposed everything. Because I, myself, was lonely. Wanting to be a part of stuff. So I stayed there for a while, like as far as mentally, emotionally. And I was a minister, and I did a lot of weird shit so I took like a vow of a Nazarite. I took a Nazarite vow. We were wearing like African type flowy dresses and things like that I was making. Now, I made a killing making them things, head wraps and all that, because the pastor wanted them made a particular way. And I was like the second, no, I was probably the third in command. So, for a while, till I started asking questions. So, anyway, fast forward, I met my husband. Well, I stepped down from being a minister because when you see the shit that goes on behind closed doors, well, I say my experience, the stuff that goes on behind closed doors, it is awful. Thank you for inviting followers, y'all, and hearts and stuff. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. Watching families be torn apart, seeing me. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I found it does not even matter, but I was seeing me. Just the families being torn apart, the just the mess behind closed door. Oh, thank you. So then I met my husband at school. We were in psychology class together, Christian Methodist Episcopal. We were in class together, and I had never been drawn to anybody like I was him. And he was so nosy, asking me all these questions about myself. But see, that was the thing. It was something different. Nobody had ever really, guys hadn't really asked me questions about myself. They just was like, hey, shorty, you so fine, da-da-da, your ass, da-da, that kind of shit. He didn't do that. He wanted to know me. And when we were dating and stuff, once I allowed my husband to call me, because I did have to get permission. Once I allowed him to call me, he would tell me stories and all this stuff at night. So we were really, my husband is awesome. So anyway, that's not what the video is about. It's not about how awesome my husband is. So we got married, and this same pastor was still there. That's who married us. Actually, her and the assistant pastor married us. Both of them were women. And I'm not going to say that. I'm trying to keep my character in check while telling this story. So, they married us, and as we kind of, we grew together, whatever, I really started having an issue with church, a bigger issue than I normally did with church. And so, first, I started reading this book called Pagan Christianity. If you are a Christian, or you're just coming out of it, or, things like that, this book called Pagan Christianity by Frank Viola is an excellent book to show you kind of what you're dealing with. Now, it's a Christian book, but he's a house church minister. So he's not really into all the pomp and circumstance. Peace, peace, peace. He's not really into all the pomp and circumstance and and all this stuff. He talks about, in this book, I'm going to tell y'all, I read this book so many times that the binding is screwed up. Like, the pages are falling out. And literally, if you pick the book up and you don't know, that pages will fall everywhere. But he talks about the uniforms that everybody wear to separate them, where the praise team came from. Because a lot of y'all that are my age remember churches not having praise teams. That's a new thing. Talks about where the traditions and things came from, even the tithe and all that. So, Pagan Christianity by Frank Viola, if you're kind of in transition. So I went from, I started doing house church with my family, trying to just at least keep it pure. See, you was Muslim, I was Christian. So, I started doing house church, and it was better. For one thing, I had my Sundays back. And the other thing is, at that point, I had a client who they had been doing house church forever. So I kind of took some notes from her. But I am one who, if I'm going to be by myself, I want to be by myself. If I'm being in a community, I want to be in a community. And so it was difficult because I could just teach the kids, my husband and me could discuss it and go on. So, from there, I was like, you know what, bump it. Because I have questions. I have to know things. I am a Gemini, Cancer, cusper. I'm a Cancer, as far as all my charts and stuff say, but I have a very true Gemini mind. I want to know. Knowledge and wisdom are everything to me. I have to know the information and how to apply it. So I was like, what should I look at to get the real questions answered? Atheism. So I started studying atheism, if you will. And did y'all know there are different kinds of atheists? I didn't know that at first. So there are different kinds of atheism. So I started studying atheism, and I looked at the questions that they would ask other religions. See, I didn't know that. Not at that point, I didn't. So there are different passions. Look it up. It's really interesting. So I started looking at the questions that they would ask other people, because this is the thing. Atheists aren't scared of anybody. Like, they literally don't have a heaven or hell. They don't have any character they got to check. They ain't scared of nobody. So it's like, okay, well, let me check them out. So I would use their questions and stuff to really explore. So let me tell y'all this, because this is probably what a lot of y'all want to know if you're a Christian or coming out of Christianity or just kind of playing on the line. How did I get rid of the concept of hell? Because it's not just like, oh, I don't believe in hell and it's over. Not if you were raised like I was. Y'all, it took some work. It took a lot of tears, a lot of fear. I was petrified most of the time. I was scared to really ask those real questions. Because, and I'm not saying everybody's experience for any of this. This is my story, my experience. For me, Christianity was based on fear. And especially when people would tell me, God, they would talk about God in a father sense, because my father, because my father and I were not close. And a lot of times, he would just he was a punisher. Like, nothing I did was right. He was always waiting for me to, I just knew I wasn't good enough. Y'all heard me talk about that before. And so when people present God as a father, that's how I saw God. Like, he was standing up there waiting for me to mess up so he could be like, pew, 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 got you. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, nah, that's not working for me. So the first thing I did was I changed God into what my mama looks like, which is this very curvy, earthy, mother-looking chocolate goddess. You know, she's always had this gray hair. My mama's had gray hair since she was 16. So and y'all know how I feel about Jane. So that was the first thing I did, was I changed God into her form in my head. And I literally would sit there and I would visualize God looking like this beautiful chocolate woman with this gray hair, you know. And so that way I was able to at least change God into a loving figure. So then, from there, I actually met this sister online. I don't remember how I met her, but it was just, I remember what happened. I was literally sitting there contemplating all this stuff that I had learned about religion and my walk and all this, because at this time, I'm still I might be early 30s at this time, and I'm just like, I have had more experience with religion and spirituality and things like that than I should have. Like, I'm feeling like an old lady, you know, when it comes to these spiritual experiences. So somebody inboxes me, and some kind of way she starts talking about Ifa. Now, I was familiar with Ifa from Remember the Juju Man, the Bible Hour in Miami. And so it was really, really timely. And so I was talking to her, and she started doing classes, and it was a small group of us that started doing classes or whatever. And in the effort to have, oh, no, it was not. No, God, no, don't love yourself. God forbid. Don't do that. Yeah, because you gotta love God first, remember? Then your husband next, if you have one. If you don't have a husband, you love everybody else, and then you're last. Because what would Jesus do? You know, it's that martyr complex. You know, you kill yourself essentially trying to take care of every fucking body else, but not you, though. So, side note, they even had me as a little, the pastor. Yeah, well, God, Jesus, the pastor. I knew what you meant. So anyway, we started talking about Ifa, and I was taking these classes with her and whatnot. And in the interest of good character, just some things did not go well. It just did not turn out well. So I ended up with the woman that my husband had been referred to learn from, because he was kind of reluctantly following in behind me, because he told me later, he said, I would look at the stuff you was doing and be like, oh, she just going to hell. She going to hell. The girl crazy, she going to hell. So So this is what marriages look like. Sometimes y'all are not on the same page. Sometimes y'all are not at the same stage, and it's okay, because as long as y'all are both willing to grow, it's still awesome. And if we had never, I don't even know if we're on the same page all the time now, but we don't have to be, because I accept him for who he is and where he is, and he does the same for me, and we both give each other space to grow. So then, and I'll be honest with you, so I did that. I got what they refer to as one-handed Ifa a lot of times. So it's just basically initiating you into the Ifa tradition, to the Yoruba tradition. But it's difficult for me here because I don't have a community. And in my opinion, Ifa is a communal spirituality. Like when I go to Atlanta, I feel at home. But when I'm here, it's just like, okay, I just got to do what I got to do. And I tried it, but it's like songs, and all the songs are like call and response and, things like that. It's just hard. It's hard being here by yourself. I know, but I can't just like move. So a lot of times here, I just do what I need to do. Because I'm spiritual anyway. I'm nature-based spirituality. I will tell you that. I know that for a fact. Nature makes sense to me. The earth makes sense to me. That is my balance place. No, I can't. That's my place where I feel balanced. Like literally, if something, like we went through something and it was just horrible, and I just had to get to the park so I could lay out on the ground. And it's a picture, I think an old picture on my Facebook, where I was like literally just sprawled out on the ground. And it was because I was going through stuff, and I gave it back to Mama. Because I told y'all, it's my birth mother, the one who gave me safe entrance to this realm, and there's Mother Earth, and neither one of them have ever dropped me. Neither one of them have ever failed me. And so, I mean, I guess if I was going to be something, I worship the mothers. I don't know. Because I do believe in that deep and never failing love of motherhood. Like, I believe that. I mean, like that makes sense to my soul. That mother energy, they will never, ever, ever, ever drop you, never fail you, never, ever, ever. And they will fight for you to the death. So, that's pretty much the story. Now, as far as my children are concerned, because I know some of you all have children, I was very honest and transparent the whole way with my children. They knew exactly what I was doing. They knew exactly they knew that I was exploring. They knew everything that was going on. No, I did not unlearn that. Actually, I think I had to learn that. I didn't start really being connected to the earth until I started homeschooling, because if you're the science teacher, you don't get to be scared of stuff. And so, I learned I learned a lot of connectedness with the earth from being a science teacher, because I always been a science head. And that's how I got connected. Because I was not connected. Believe it or not, I used to be a kid that hated outside. I hated it. Now, that's my church. That's where my soul lives, is outside. So with my children, I was just very honest with them. They knew what was going on, and I learned to ask them, what do you think? What is it that you believe? I'm not one to tell my children what to believe, but we do explore it together. The reason I don't do that, and I know it's a lot of people, it's like, you need to lead them down the path. I'm going to be honest with you. I hate it so much that I got pushed in a path that I don't do that. Because my children are intelligent and they're connected in their own ways. And I want them to be able to say, this is what I choose. This is what works for my soul. Because in my opinion, they come here with their own destiny. They come here with their own life experience and with their own past life experience. And I don't feel grown enough. Yeah. And I don't feel grown enough to tell people where their spirit belongs. But I just make sure that I discuss it with them and that they explore it. Now, I do get readings for them and things like that, because it helps me to know how to raise them. It helps me to know what kind of spirits I birth, so that I can make this experience on earth as pleasant and easy as possible, and keep them as close to their path as possible. But I just don't like force and oppression, because my entire life was based on force and oppression. If it wasn't my daddy, then my first marriage, my first marriage was horrible. It was force and oppression. I went from there to the people that I told you about at the hair shop that first taught me. That was force and oppression. I went to the church where I became a minister. That was force and oppression. I just grew up constantly being, with people trying to break me and with people trying to control me. Because I told y'all the story about one day when my daddy looked at me, and he just looked me dead in my eyes, and he was like, "I'm gonna break you. I am going to break you." And that's when the war started. That's when the real war started between us, because I think a part of me realized how deep that threat went. But I just remember when he looked at me, I was like, back then I used to fight. I was like, "Oh, for real? You gonna break me?" And it was like, and I have always had this thing where I do enjoy that. I guess I don't know. I don't know why they ain't like me. But I do have this thing where I believe that the one who cares the least is the one who wins the war, because it is a part of me. I would like to say that I'm ashamed to say it, but I'm not ashamed to say it. But it's a part of me who likes that cat and mouse, who likes that that argument. Let's go back and forth, and it's fun to me. Yeah, I know. And we have a better relationship now, but it was literally because of the things that my godmother taught me about elders. And that's what kind of opened the path for me to realize that I can control my own behavior. I can't control his. And now I'm not even interested in controlling his, because then that's the same oppression and shit that people are trying to do to me. So, yeah, and like I said, I can't really say where I am for sure as far as a religion, a belief, a spirituality. My rituals at home are my rituals. They don't necessarily follow a particular path, but I'm by myself. So I do what I want. I do what works. I do what gives my soul joy, and I'm surrounded by awesome women who give me space for that. So when I go to Georgia, yes, I salute the shrines and I do all those things. And I do it with a clear conscience and with joy and excitement. I enjoy it. But like I said, it's just being here by myself. It's not the same thing. And I'm a community person anyway. I get charged up from being around people. I very rarely get exhausted from being around people. I get energy from being around people. And that's why it's so hard for me to remember to protect my own energy, because I love the interaction. Yeah, I do. I love the interaction with people. I love teaching and just being around people. Like, I sit too close to people. Poor Iatoki, when I saw her this time when I went to Georgia, the last time when I went to Georgia, I was like, "Can I sit really close to you?" Because she has these awesome hips. And and it's like, I just like sitting beside people with awesome hips, and it's like you want to kind of snuggle it. It's like this great mother thing I have. Like, women that are really curvy, I just want to sit really close to them. It feels like the mother. It's like the mother, the primordial mothers. They just had this, you just feel all wrapped up and stuff. She's awesome anyway, but her hips are awesome. So, and I did the same thing to Mayat, who lives here with me in Charlotte. But she don't live with me, but she lives in Charlotte. And the first time I met her, I didn't realize it. She didn't tell me till later, but she's not really like a really touchy person. But the first time I met her, she was like, "You damn near sat in my lap." I was like, "Oh, sorry." But I wasn't really sorry. I didn't care, but I did. I sat really close. Yeah. I still be trying to sit too close to my mama. She be tripping now though. But so yeah, that's my path. So I guess if I had to say that I had a path right now, it's just nature and mother energy. So whatever that is. And everything doesn't need a name. It doesn't. And my freedom now has allowed me to be able to easily give people space to do what it is that their soul needs. There are people who are really good Christians. My mama is one of them. She is she is a beautiful Christian. My mama makes Christianity look so good. It looks good on her. I tell people that it's not oppressive. It's not, and she believes in other people's freedom. I'm pretty sure she knows what I do because she's my Facebook friend. Yeah, so she's my Facebook friend. But I can tell you this: whether she agree with what I do or not, you better not talk about me to her, cause it's my mama, and that's what I feel like that mother energy is. She don't have to agree with what I do, but she gonna, yeah. But you gonna have to go through her to get to me still. So that's my story. I don't know if y'all have any questions for me. Somebody just requested it, so I just wanted to put it out there, and it's delayed, so I'm gonna give y'all a second to see if y'all have any questions for me. So I went from being raised in the church to the military, getting married, being exposed to African traditions, coming back to Charlotte, going back to church, becoming a minister. Oh, and when I was a minister, I worked in the office of prophet, intercessor, and they call it exalter, but you can also hear it called exhorter. And those are the people who kind of pump you up, which I was never really good at, because I'm more like, come on now, get your shit together, you know. So, but yeah, so intercessor and prophet were the offices, if you will, that I functioned in as a minister. You're welcome. I'm glad I got to the end while you could watch. Thank you for watching and stuff. So, okay, well, if y'all don't have any questions for me, then I'm going to go to bed. I just wonder, why do you think it's taught that sex is bad before marriage and masturbation? Oh, it's a way of controlling people. It's mostly a way of controlling women. You don't really see, if you look at Christianity, if you look at the Bible, if you look at, if you even look at the history of the Bible, if you look at the cultural context, it was still about the oppression of women. They would say things about sex in general, but the laws and the punishments were generally toward women. So yeah, it is. It's aimed at women. We have people, men in particular. I don't have wine tonight. I've taken a temporary vow of sobriety with a sister. So I'm not drinking. I'm not drinking in solidarity to an awesome, fabulous sister of mine. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not. Because my sister means more to me than my wine. So yeah. But yeah, it's always been about control and control. And see, I'm going to tell you something. You have to be concerned. Like, anytime somebody seeks to control something over and over and over again in history, it tells you how powerful that thing must be. Because we do not seek to control that which is not powerful as hell, okay? So the fact that you look at how many laws have been made, you know, to deal with women's bodies in the United States, not even going back 2,000 years, just in the United States alone, that lets you know how powerful women must be. And so it is for us to remember our power. It is for us to remember our power separately, yes, but as a group, as a circle, as a movement, as a primordial energy, there is absolutely nothing that we cannot do. And when we remember that these things have to be done in concert, really, I think that we just have to find what our focus is. We have to find what our focus is. And I know for me, my main focus is sisterhood. I love my sisters. And I know that if I can save my sisters, if I can free my sisters, if I can strengthen and empower my sisters, this entire world will shift. And Spirit says yes, because I just got chills all over my body. So it's true. So it's like there's absolutely nothing. And I'm not saying that oh, forget the men, forget the men. I'm not saying that, but we just have to. Oh yeah, no, I didn't cover that. I got you. But yeah, sisterhood is my calling. Freeing of women is my calling. So the alienated part, yes. I wasn't as alienated because my personality has, and I'm gonna tell y'all, you need to know what your superpower is. You gotta know what your strengths are. One of mine is my personality. People tend to like me. Now, they either tend to really, really like me or really, really not like me. Which either is fine. You're free to choose. It doesn't matter. But I know that I've always been able to kind of talk to people and explain to them why this is what I believe and what I do. So no matter what I believed, I always could create a circle around that. And I didn't realize at the time that that's what that was. But as far as my family, I didn't get alienated. Crap, my battery's dying. I didn't get alienated. Yeah, I didn't get alienated back then because my family didn't know. Only now have I been this out and out with it. Y'all, I'm gonna try to go get my charger. Just in case y'all have questions. So y'all gonna walk with me through the house. Excuse my greasy face. Because I didn't tell anybody. So since everybody now knows, oh gosh, yeah. Now that everybody kind of knows what I do, I haven't felt any alienation, but y'all, I'm trying to find my charger. But it's because most people are not as confrontational as you would like to think that they are. Y'all, I'm in the dark. I'm sorry. They're not as confrontational as they would like you to think that they are. So, but I will tell you this. As far as the alienation part is concerned, my suggestion would be you have to learn you have to learn how to live your own life. You have to learn how to be okay with yourself. Because hold on, y'all, I know y'all looking at my awesome bodacious boobs. Now y'all know I got my lights out here, so I can turn it on. Here we go. Y'all, I'm sorry. I'm having to readjust everything. Hold on, y'all. But it makes it easier if you can just go ahead and, kind of get in a place where you're okay with you. Where you're just okay with being who you are. Because I wasted a whole lot of time worrying about what other folks are gonna think about me. And I'm gonna tell y'all, if it's any mama's girls in here, y'all don't even see my damn. I was gonna turn the lights on for y'all for real. But if there are any mama's girls in here, that was my hardest thing. Hold on. Sorry, y'all. So that was my hardest thing, was thinking about how my mama was going to feel about me not being Christian. And I stayed in that place of fear for years. I still don't talk to her directly about it. Yeah, I still don't talk to her directly about it. Just because I feel like if it's something that she needs to know, she'll say something. But I also am not super secretive. Like, my daughter will talk to her about astrology. She'll talk to her about all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And it's always that, let me put the camera around. It's always that one person that you just are like, oh my God, if I lose them, my whole life is going to fall apart. You can't get them that kind of control. And I'm not saying it like it's easy. Yeah, and I'm not saying that it's easy. Do I have any thoughts or theory about human origins? I've thought about that a lot. I know that scientifically we do have everything that's included in stardust. I do know that. I do know, like scientifically, I'm sweating like a hoe in church. Lord have mercy. Um, I do believe, because of course this is scientific too, is that white people and black people don't come from the same. Well, white people and others don't come from the same genetic makeup. White scientists have proven that most white people have Neanderthal origins, which are different than ours. So that's science. I don't do too well with the creation stories. Um, I don't. I just don't. I don't know. I don't do too well with them. Um, I'm a science head. I had so many questions. Oh, okay. So Genesis. Listen. So this is the thing with Genesis. So, if y'all read in Genesis, everybody get. This is my church fan. Everybody get your Bibles out and go to Genesis 1. So if you go look at Genesis 1, then you see like the first story in Genesis. The story is being told of the male and the female, because at this point they don't have names. The male and the female standing in front of the Godhead, being given their orders. Right? They're being told what to do. So God is sitting there. Well, the Trinity essentially is sitting there telling them, this is how we want y'all to run the earth. Blah blah. Then you see everything. Everything's created and everything is complete. And then all of a sudden, the story reboots and start over. Adam's by himself, and then Eve gets created out of his rib. Now wait a damn minute. Now, on one hand, Eve is over here. Well, not Eve, it's Lilith, but Adam and Lilith are standing before the Godhead equal. Remember, because they're both getting their instructions together. They did not get separate sets of instructions. They're standing in front of the Godhead together, being told what to do. Then all of a sudden you see this reboot, and then you see Adam getting put to sleep, getting a rib pulled out, and Eve being created from his rib. So when I first found that, I was a minister, because I was one of the ministers that studied. I wanted to know why. I wanted to know who this person was, why they said this. So when I asked the question, it was just, the default answer, oh, you just got to have faith, So what I told myself back then was that this was the discussion in heaven, then they came down to earth, right? Makes sense. You like to think. Well, it doesn't, because then you see after when Adam is walking through the garden in the cool of the day, God is there. There's no separation between heaven and earth at first. They were like, however heaven and earth was supposed to be set up, they were set up basically in the same realm. So it's like, well, how all of a sudden did they get separated then anyway, it was because they tried to join two stories together. So Genesis, that's why Genesis is so wonky, because the editors of the Bible joined two stories together that did not go together. The first one is the story of Lilith. The second story is the story of Eve. So that's why it's wonky. So if you go back and read it, not me either. Show me. If you go back and read it, you have two completely separate stories. And there are quite a few stories in the Bible that are like that. There are quite a few places in the Bible that are mentioned in one place and it don't exist in another place. Or even something as simple as a Leviathan. Like, okay, so what was that? Are we talking about dinosaurs? What are we talking about? So, you have to, it's like you really have to dissect it. Now, I know that we have people now that talk a lot about Christ consciousness. I'll be honest with you. I've gotten such a bad taste in my mouth with the church. For me, I'm not interested. I don't want a reworking of what I fought so hard to get away from. I'm not interested. Even as far as hell, part of my learning process with hell was, theology teachers generally can't get it right. And yes, it has. Even the part in Revelation where it says, do not change one iota of this word, was not in the Bible. It was a note from one scribe to another to say, stop fucking around with what I'm writing. Right. It's too much. It's too much. And so the thing that I thought about later was, okay, well, maybe were y'all trying to say that, because I know in the story with Lilith, one of the main stories that they tell about Lilith is that when she left Adam, because she left Adam, it was not the other way around, that Lilith went down and took the children that they had and pitched her tent by the Red Sea, and that's where she started her folks. But it had to be some people intermingling here somewhere, and it had to be some other people created. So that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of holes in the story. And it's always going to be when you take stuff that was not meant to be together and put it together. So I always give people the example of if you take my diary, Passion's diary, and Jamila's diary and try to smush them together. No. So if you take them and smush them together, you're not going to get a coherent story. Like, even if we were all there seeing the same thing, you're not going to get a coherent story. And then, one of the main people in the Bible was a historian. He was not even there. So, it's not going to fit. So, yeah, it's wonky. But, and I found for me, I take stories for what they are. I treat them like proverbs. I treat them all like proverbs. Can I get the lesson out of this? It's just the same way I treat my life. Can I get the lesson out of this? Can I learn something from this story? A quick we've been on here for a while. It's not really a recap I can do. I'm just talking about the most I can tell you at this point, so everybody's not getting bored beyond reason, is that I grew up in the church. I went to the military, got married, got introduced to African religions, came back to the church, became a minister, did the atheist thing, and then ended up in African tradition again, and then came to wherever I am now. Oh, I missed that last comment. But if y'all do ever have any topics that y'all want me to cover, feel free to ask. If I know something about it, I'll cover it. And if it's something about me, I will be more than happy to cover it. I don't have any secrets, so y'all can ask me. But if y'all don't have any more questions, then I'm going to go snuggle up with Titus. So, because y'all saw he was in there with the lights off. So, I'm going to go ahead and snuggle up with him if y'all don't have any more questions for me. Hey, Naomi. What, Jamila? What, this fan? Can you see? This is my favorite fan. This is the one at the funeral I got in trouble because I was pointing at the usher and I was like, leave me alone. Can't you see I'm grieving? I was going to pop him in the head with it. But my cousin ran over and said, she doesn't normally act like this. Please, I'm sorry. Because he was trying to be controlling. And I almost got cracked in the head with a fan. So, yeah, he did. I was about to take it. Thank you. I got this at a flea market years ago. It's a hand-painted fan. It's my favorite fan. Well, then I got my sweetgrass fans that I love. So, that one's so hard, Jamila. No, they did not accept my move at all. They still don't accept my move, but it's more of a passive aggressive, I guess, not accepting my move. Because I know my daddy now, hold on, Jamila, I'm coming back. My daddy, he'll drop hints, like he was throwing shade at Thanksgiving. He was like, because everybody in the family is Christian but us. Like, my brother is a minister, my sister-in-law is a minister, like reverend. My sister and my brother-in-law are both saved and everything. And so my dad during the grace kept harping on, and I just pray that all of my children, and all of my grandchildren be saved, because we the heathen family. So, because my daughter's an astrologer, my son may be an atheist or a naturist or something like that. My husband mostly deals with Ifa, and I do what works. Jamila, it's really difficult. I'm going to tell you though, the best thing that I did was I opened myself up for a teacher, and I pulled teachers to me. And now I'm surrounded by people of good character who are not controlling, and not only allow but empower me to be as free as I need to be and to do what I need. So, because I'm going to tell you, you'll be tempted to use Google. You will. You'll be tempted to use Google. But Google will have you all over the place. There are some credible books, though. So, depending on the path, there are some books I could suggest. Of course, most of the books I know are Ifa. But there are some really good books. But don't get caught up in Google, please. You'll be crazy as a damn bed bug. It is. Because there's no accountability on Google at all. Wikipedia, Lord have mercy. But yeah, my daddy, he's like still with the, and I do go to church sometimes. Like my mama does a lot of plays and stuff at church, and I go to see her plays, and they good. So I enjoy them because I can learn from anybody. So I mean, and it's the funny thing is, I feel more comfortable in church now than I ever did. The only issue I have with church, and this is not me being arrogant, promise, but I'm smarter than most of the ministers in the church. So because they don't read and study, they just it's like they just just do. They have learned the emotional up and down, and they've learned kind of the emotional ups and downs. It's because it's a lot of psychology in how sermons are written. It's a lot of psychology in how the services are orchestrated. They are very much orchestrated to evoke an emotional response. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you enjoy, but you just have to understand that that's what's being done. There are still some gospel songs that will have me broke down in tears. I still love meter hymns. I love old church songs more than I do the new ones. At least they was telling you was going to hell or whatever, but the thing is that it's very orchestrated. Oops, it went away.